touches. Good evening and welcome to the June 14th, 2018 edition of the Millbrae Community, or Millbrae School District. Millbrae every meeting. I love the Millbrae community. Welcome to our meeting. If we could stand for the flag salute. Trustee Barbaro, would you lead us?
Sure. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Frank. This meeting is being televised and recorded for the transcription of the minutes. The meeting will be replayed on MCTV, Channel 27, on Saturday, June 16th, 2018, at 11:30 a.m., and the following Monday, June 18th, 2018, at 3:30 p.m. At this time, speakers wishing to address the board this evening should turn in a completed speaker card to the board secretary. We just completed a closed session, and I wanted to report that interdistrict transfers were considered. IDA 1819023 was denied. IDA 1819024 was denied. IDA 1819025 was also denied. In further action, the board acted to non-reelect a probationary teacher and directed the superintendent to notify that teacher of his/her non-reelection from employment. Effective June 8th, 2018, the vote was 5-0. Move now to the approval of the agenda. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
So moved. Trustee Ravello, second. Trustee Ferrario, all those in favor?
Aye.
The agenda is approved. We'll move now to presentations, and I'm so happy to see the Peninsula Chinese Business Association with us tonight. So if I could turn this over to Vaughn or Rick.
Trustees, I'll actually invite Mr. Mark Zader, our new principal of Taylor Middle School, to introduce our very special guests and the folks that are here tonight from the Peninsula Chinese Business Association. I would also like to invite Ms. Carrie Wong and Ms. Diana Thomas to do some introductions to our special guests for tonight.
Thank you, President Fema, Board, and Superintendent Fabersert. They did a lot of this work, and I really thank the Peninsula Chinese Business Association. So I'm going to turn it over to Diana and Carrie.
I didn't know I was speaking. Welcome to the world. Carrie let me know of this wonderful, wonderful association out here. And we wrote a letter asking for assistance to help us upgrade our sound system in the Taylor Auditorium. For those who know it, it is very old. It does not work very well. We have people who are our drama team that works very hard and we barely hear them. And we had a musical and, things are getting better, but we're just not quite got the finishing touch done. So we wrote a letter and we were it broke my heart to hear all these people doing all this, and my heart was so warmed when I got this, yes, you guys have been selected. And I couldn't have done it without Carrie Wong here, who told me to write this letter, and it almost brought me to tears when I got that call. So I want to thank you guys from the bottom of my heart, and everybody at Taylor, everybody in the community who uses this is going to be thankful to you for a long, long time. So if you guys would like to come up. I'm so excited. You guys all come on up.
Yeah, it's 11 grand. Oh, that's great.
Trustees, I do want to introduce, I believe Miss Angie Sam Lee is still the president, yes. If you could make a few statements, and why was Taylor selected? We're so honored. Certainly, thank you for being here tonight and the presentation.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're very honored to be able to give back to the community. All of our kids had gone to Taylor School. They've graduated, they're in college, or maybe working. So when Carrie first told me that the sound system wasn't working, during one of the plays, the sound system just broke down. And, it hurts us. If our kids were in the drama school and this happened, so when we had our fundraising in March, we were very thankful that Mr. Vapersit and Ms. Ferrario also participated in our fashion show. And these are funds that we had raised, some of the funds. So thank you. You guys had chipped in. So when we heard the news, we said, hey, we really want to give back to the community and we want to help. So Taylor School was one of the first to approach us. So we were able to come up with this big check. And I think it's for a very good cause. And thank you, Carrie. My kids went to Taylor, so Carrie was our teacher, and so we still kept in touch. I'm glad she knew that because we have given to Taylor before. So I'm glad she still remembered and approached us. Thank you very much.
Present the check first to you guys. Yes. And then you can take a picture with it.
There you go. Yay. Yeah.
Don't leave. So we have a plaque that was made that we're going to put right outside as you enter into the auditorium. And it says, in recognition of the Peninsula Chinese Business Association, PCBA, for their generous donation to upgrade the sound system in the auditorium, Taylor Middle School, spring 2018. Come on there.
All right.
Get everybody. Carrie's got the check.
Maybe I could carry it up high. So.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
There we go.
Yeah, there you go. Wow, 11,000.
Good.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We can need the real one.
Yeah. So trustees, any comments? Maggie?
Yes.
We have a couple little comments from people.
Okay.
Okay, wait till they they settle. I know, right? Then we say our comments.
Okay. Trustee Musa.
Okay, well, that is so awesome. Thank you for doing that. Actually, I was at the spring concert about a month ago, and I was talking to Noel, and I said, what can we do to improve the auditorium for the concerts ahead? And so we're always going to go tad the PTA and try to figure out how to fundraise to bring in a new system. So thank you so much. You just saved me a whole lot of work. I really appreciate it, so thank you.
Trustee Ferrari.
I just want to say, PCBA, you are awesome in our community and have given back so much to our schools, to our community, and I don't know what we would do without your support. And this particular donation to Taylor is so long overdue. PTA cannot raise these kinds of funds. So I just want to thank Diana and Carrie for going the extra mile and saying, asking for a donation, because sometimes that's all that's necessary. If you don't ask, then people don't know what you need. So you guys are amazing. Thank you so much.
Well, I've been on this board now almost 10 years, and one of the really, heartwarming things to have witnessed over these 10 years is the growth of the participation by so many different elements of the community. So many different projects have come up through the last few years. The Scout House, the growth of the MEF, and certainly seeing the PCBA become such a pivotal element in our community. It really, really is gratifying to see, and you folks are to be so commended for participating in the community. A lot of people talk about helping out and, stepping up. You folks are doing it, and it's such a great example for everybody else, because now they say, oh, well, hey, if they can do that, maybe I can do something to help too. So we thank you so very much.
Thank you.
$11,000, wow. What a great contribution to our middle school, and a great way to connect our community of school district. We connect with the public, and it's great. And thank you so much for your contribution. It's nice to see the connection. Thank you.
How much time do I have? I cannot say enough about this wonderful group of people. I've known you all for many years. They gave us the very first check we needed to get the Millbrae Community Youth Center started. They gave us the check that got us the architectural plans for the go-ahead, and I'll never forget that. When we were looking for further contributions, they brought their entire board to a presentation that we put on about the Scout House, the old Scout House. And at the end of the presentation, they said, well, we'd like to see it. So the entire board, including spouses, got up out of the rec center. We walked all the way up to where the building is today in the dark, because they wanted to see what the work, and so that kind of hands-on approach has just been so well received. And recently they voted to create a sustainable fund for field trips for every one of our schools, which I'm just so proud of, and I guess I just can't say enough, so I'll stop talking. But thank you so much, and for the wonderful gift to Taylor, of course.
Thank you.
So now we have some departmental updates. Student services update. Anita.
Good evening, Mr. Fema and Board of Trustees, and of course the Cabinet. For the last 2 years, I've been describing multi-tiered system of support, MTSS, and its potential benefit to the Millbrae School District. Tonight's presentation is not about what we are planning to do, but about what we are doing. Kathy Dior-Reed she is one of the 17 district people who have participated in the state training and is going to give you a snapshot of where we are. Do you want, I'm not very good at pushing the button. Can you do it, or do you want me to help?
I can do it, I think. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, board, and Superintendent Baber's cabinet. So Anita asked if we would be willing to share some of the experiences we've had as we're implementing and getting ready to really take on MTSS as a system that we can use to organize what we're doing in the schools. And so I know she's already said that she's explained what MTSS is. So I won't go into too much depth about that, but really it's a system that has come out of an effort to ensure that all students are receiving the services they need. And it's evolved over time to be embraced by educational departments across the country. And California's MTSS focuses on really aligning all the initiatives and resources within an educational organization such as the district or a school to really make sure that it's being utilized as well as it can be to support all the students. We have a lot of initiatives, of course, as you know, but how are they working together to really support each of our students? And are we, how are we measuring that? How are we looking to see that what we're putting out there is really reaching who it needs to reach and being used to its full potential? So this is like a framework that allows us to do that, and I only know that because I have gone to the training along with all the admins in the district, and we've begun to use it already, so I wanted to kind of share a little bit about that. As I said, MTSS is a way to use all the initiatives, including academic support, behavioral support, and social emotional learning. So for us, we have some strengths to look at. I'm going to pull this out here. Okay, here we go. We have in our district already a shared belief system, vision, and mission, and we've done a really good job of creating a strategic plan and our LCAP, and so we have all these initiatives that we're already working on, and we have a shared vision. Our priority is student learning, and as I said, we have those 3 areas that need to really be considered: academic progress, and behavioral and social emotional learning. And if they all work together, so if one is not, if students are having behavior issues, for example, that's going to affect their learning. And if we're not supporting them in that area or their social emotional issues, then they're not going to be able to be as successful as they might be if they had that support. So this is a way of measuring that. And we have all these things in place, but we really aren't, at this point, on top of how they're working together and how they're how we're strategically using them. So that's what MTSS is helping us to do. We have strong and engaged leadership. So all of our admins, as I said, have been trained, and we're moving forward to initiate this and bring all of our teams on board. Some are a little bit further ahead than others, so that's great. They can lead the way and share with us who are still in the beginning stages. We're working on a common language in our district. We have academic committees, and that has been a great support to all come together across the district, be on the same page. We utilize that really well, and that is going to be incorporated into how we roll out and use the MTSS system in our schools. So we have lots more strengths. We have the teams that we've developed at each site, and they're all committed and planning to assess our sites in the fall. Actually, one site, Meadows, has already done that because they went to the training a little bit ahead of everybody else. So they have begun this process of assessing, which is included in the MTSS program, is to really look at your site. How are you using all your resources? And helping you to identify where you can improve. And then you do that continuously a couple times a year, really look at what's working, what isn't, and they have a whole system for doing that. So all of us are going to be doing that initial inventory next year. And we have plans for that. Actually, I think Lamina Park actually did it this year too. So they were the first of this second cohort that went through the training to do it. So we're all on our way. And as a district, we've actually done that work and identified some areas that already that through an inventory to look at what's working and what isn't. We each have worked to create fluidity, I guess you would say, with our MTSS, I mean, not our MTSS team, but all our support staff so that they're able to really go in and support in different ways and not just in, rigid roles, I might say. Like our support staff can go work with this student, and that's a student who needs help, or help with behavior, help with social emotional. We have that already going on, and we just want to make sure that we have clear focus on that. So that's what MTS is helping us to do. We're focused on student outcomes so that every student is getting the right resources at the right time to help them progress. And we have data-based decision-making, and we know that this is one of the areas that we really know that we need support in and that we need to develop, and that's one of the things that MTSS is helping us to identify where and when, and we've already started to work on this, and we have a great assessment matrix that the academic team has come up with for next year. So, we're really coming together in this area, and it's really encouraging because it's been a gap in our district, really looking at the data and what's working. So that's happening. And then we have also an integration of support. So all of our teams working together at each site, speech, language, even in MTSS, you look at all the strengths and weaknesses, the different areas that every staff member can bring to this. Even, our custodial staff, our food service workers, our aides, everybody has a role to play in supporting our students, and how can we really make sure that we're doing that? So that's starting to happen. And we are also bringing in, the PBIS, and every site is in some level of implementing PBIS at Spring Valley. We are in our first year, and so next year will be our second year, and we're really, really excited. We have a really strong team of implementing the positive behavior supports. So everybody's on board with that, and that is just one piece of supporting students, but just making sure that all of our sites are looking at behavior and how can we help support that and be really positive. And PBIS is a great tool. And then we're also working on developing some social and emotional learning. We realized through our district effort to look at our resources that we are, we have a lot of initiatives going on in every school in different ways. We have character traits, we have this, that, but we really need to utilize this support system to help us make that work in a positive way. And we realize we have a big gap in that area, and so we already have a plan now because of our team working together. Some of our leadership team has begun outlining steps and mapping how we're going to address social and emotional learning going forward as a district and in each school site. So we have a lot of opportunities, and we are really excited about it, actually. I think it's a really great system. A lot of times the school initiatives come down from the state, and, okay, here's another acronym, here's another. But this actually is helping us look at what we're doing, and it really is working so far, and we're just in the beginning stages. So the idea is to get the right resources to the right student at the right time to make sure that they're getting what they need and progressing. So thank you for letting me speak tonight. Yes. There is? Oh, boy. What does it say? Oh, it's our team. Our team. This is everybody who's been trained so far. And actually, I'm going to be going this summer with one of my teachers to a training. So she's agreed to go during the summer, which is also very exciting. So everybody is getting involved, and it's really good. So we have all of our schools represented there. In alphabetical order? Okay. That's why you're top dog there. Okay, I see. Okay. Questions? Any questions? Oh, yeah. I'm sure.
Thank you, Kim.
Yes, we started using it, so. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Item 7.2, Educational Services Update. Claire?
Good evening. I'm here tonight just to give you a real quick update about what's been going on in the past few months for the in the Educational Service Department. So tonight, I'm going to start with a shout out to all of our staff, and that includes teachers and aides and everybody that's at school sites. We have successfully completed our state testing. We did really well in our completion rates. As you can see, for the English Language Arts and the Math summative tests, we are at 99.2 completion. All of the students, besides just very few who are out for illnesses or other reasons, have been tested. And this is one of the first years now that the state has required that we need to be higher than 95% participation rates again. For the science field test, which is brand new for this year, we completed 98.9. So that once again, we have high completion rates. All of the students were able to take the science test, which is actually just for the 5th and 8th grade students. And then also for English Language Arts and in math for the California alternate test, we have 100% completion. So all of our special ed students who have the criteria to take that specialized test were tested in those tests this year. So this is a great accomplishment, and it really shows the teamwork that's happening here in Millbrae, because this is everyone's involved with scheduling and implementation to make sure that all of the students get the tests that they need to receive. So I wanted to give everybody a big kudos and thank you for all of the work that they put forth during the testing time, because it's a lot of moving parts, and our administrators and teachers and aides and everybody's helping with everything. So congratulations, Millbrae, for getting that done. Also tonight, I just wanted to talk a little bit about the LCAP. Later on in the agenda, we have open for our public hearing the LCAP presented for our next school year, 2018-2019. This morning, our team met with the county office, who are the overseers of reading the LCAP, and they gave us the latest revisions, but they were so very few and far, and they said that our LCAP is basically good to go even without the revisions. So when I come back in 2 weeks when we go for the approval, I'll have those slight changes, but according to the county office panel who approves the writing of it, they said that the minor changes wouldn't impact their approving it. So basically they're saying that as it is, they'll approve it if should the board move forward in a week and a half to go forward with the LCAP. So that's really good news. Just some highlights of the components of the LCAP. You have the plan summary portion of it, which is an explanation of our school district, our greatest progress, our greatest needs, what we feel that we're moving towards. One of the things that Principal Dior Reed was talking about is our implementation of MTSS, and that's included in our LCAP. The annual update is another section of the LCAP where we look at the actual goals that we had last year and the measures that we were able to succeed or not succeed. And then there's reflection pieces on why we feel things were successful, why things weren't successful, and what we're going to do in order to make them more successful. There's the stakeholder engagement section of the LCAP, which explains to you all of the meetings and committee work that we've done in order to get everybody's input on our document and aware of the different things that are happening within our district. Principal Diori talked about all the initiatives that we are having, and they're all included in our LCAP. So we want to make sure that it's communicated out to everyone exactly what we're doing. We have 3 goals in our LCAP, and those consist of actions and services to achieve those goals. And then the last part is the demonstration of increased or improved services for the unduplicated pupils. And so that's the part in the LCAP that we are being called on from the state of California to make sure that we have addressed in the LCAP. This is where the supplemental dollars go, and we have to demonstrate exactly where those dollars are going to be accounted for the state. So they're looking for dollar, every single one that we get as supplemental is being tracked to one of those unduplicated pupils. And those are English language learners, the social economic disadvantage, and our foster youth. Those are the students that are in that group where we get the additional funding for. So then I just wanted to give you just a quick overview of the goal and then some of the actions and services that we are implementing in order to achieve that goal. So in goal 1, we're talking about giving that strong instructional practices to all of our students. In MTS lingo, this is tier 1. This is what all of the students receive. So this is where we are implementing our Wonders program, the new Amplify, the illustrated math. These are all of the new curriculums that we're bringing on board for all of our teachers and all of our students to have. Some of the other things that we're doing in regards to this is training our staff, integrating technology, having our music teachers part of the learning day, maintaining our facilities is also part of the this goal, and then also bringing on our science teacher on special assignment to help us move forward with implementation of the next generation science standards. LCAP Goal 2 is where we're looking at that differentiation for the students that have different needs. So within this goal, we're doing that tier 2 support. So those students that have other needs and need some extra supports in place. So within this goal, some of the actions and services that we're providing are universal design for learning and differentiated instruction training for our teachers so they know how to address those needs in their classrooms. We are analyzing student work and data. We are implementing a new assessment system that's going to be in place next year that's going to give us better opportunities of looking at a range of data and creating cohorts of students which we can monitor. We have our 3 reading specialists. We have 5 instructional aides, 4 ELD tutors, and then we also have our paraeducators. We have school psychologists, behavior specialists, and occupational therapists that also serve these students. We have student service, TOSA, for next year at Lamita Park, who is going to be working with these unduplicated pupils to make sure that they're looking at attendance as one of the rationales that we came up with is making sure students are attending school at a better rate so they're getting the lessons in the classroom, and also to help with the social emotional and that connection to school and parent involvement. So the student, the TOSA on special assignment at Lamita Park will be working in those 3 areas. And then we also have ACES, the after school program at Lamita Park. LCAP Goal 3 is all about making sure that we're bringing in our community members and building a strong connection here in the community and watching over the wellness of the students. So we're looking at the whole student in this LCAP goal. And that means that we have our student success teams. That's where the teachers come together with the principals and the families to look at individual students and to try to make sure that we're preparing them to the fullest for their educational careers. The positive behavior intervention, so PBIS. We are also monitoring attendance and discipline records to make sure that students are not falling behind in any of those areas. We have implemented the California Healthy Kids Survey to see how our students are feeling about the school climate and how they're doing in regards to the school day. We have school counselors and a school nurse. We have parent and community engagement. We also have the Big Five, which is the county's initiative for emergency evacuations. And we also are providing translations to our families that need either the documents translated or translations during parent events. So those are some of the things that are highlighted in the LCAP, which will be in our public hearing later on this evening. I just wanted to draw your attention in a kind of summary format, so when that happens, you'll have a better idea of what that document entails. But I think the main focus of what we're trying to do with the LCAP goes back to what Principal Dior Reed shared with you. It's getting the right resources to the right students at the right times. So, are there any questions? Sure.
Trustee Ferrario? I'm sorry.
Quick comment.
Yeah.
I like the idea of pooling the students and getting their feedback and letting them have a voice. That sounds really good. I like that.
We did that this year for the 5th and the 7th grade students.
Really?
Yes. And so that's part of it. You'll find that comment section in the LCAP in the stakeholder engagement.
It gives you an idea of what they're thinking, what they're feeling. It's great.
Yes.
Yeah.
What are the results? Off the top of my head, I'm trying to remember. It's a very comprehensive report, but some of the highlights is we were trying to go to build up on their feeling of connectiveness to schools. And last year, when we gave it just to the 7th graders, they were at 78% feeling that they had a caring adult on school and that they were connected. And I believe this year we were able to improve on that. I think we're up in the 80s for the 7th grade. But we did two grade levels this time. So we're bringing in the 5th grade, and then that way, since the baseline will be for the 5th grade this year, we will be looking at how we improve next year with the 5th grade when we survey them once again.
Trustee Ferrario?
Yeah, Claire, I just have a couple of clarifications. When you mentioned the increased or improved services for unduplicated pupils, and so the LCAP, it's for English language learners, socioeconomically disadvantaged, and foster youth. So are those based on percentages and in the district? And so where those students are is where the support is going to go, correct?
Correct. We have supports at all of the schools for those students, but our greatest percentage of those students are at Lomita Park. So that's why there are some additional supports to Lomita Park School.
Right.
They have over 53% of those students in their school, where other schools are in the lower 20s.
Right.
So everyone has some of those supports from the staff that we use. But as Lomita Park, the students at Lomita Park have an increased amount because of the proportionality of the students that are located at that school.
Right. I just wanted to clarify that for our folks at home, because sometimes they wonder, which schools are getting some extra support, and the reason why it goes to a particular school is because the money is earmarked for certain students. So I just wanted to clarify that. The other question was in terms of the science TOSA. So the salary for the science TOSA, I was I thought that came from MEF. Is part of it from MEF and part of it from LCAP, the salary?
So the LCAP is our programs, so everything's included in the LCAP. So MEF is included in the LCAP, title dollars are included in the LCAP. So all of the funds that we have are in the LCAP. It's the direction from the state is that our total funding is illustrated and demonstrated through the LCAP. So that's why the MEF funds are in there. Right. So the music teachers are also paid for through the MEF, and that's also in there. So when you go into the goals for that section, It'll say what the service is, and then when you look down further, it's matched with the budget that goes along with that service. So you'll see that some of them are given from different funding sources, but some, like the MEF, is for the music teachers.
Right. And then just lastly, on LCAP Goal 3, they're providing a translations for communications. Yes. How are we doing that, and where will we see that?
So we translate our documents that, like the school site report cards. Those are translated into Chinese and Spanish. And then when we have parent events, we invested in headsets. So we have been providing a translator at those evenings so parents can wear a headset and then they hear the translation. We hire one of our personnel, one of our aides actually comes in and translates for us. So we are able to give the parents translations while it's happening.
And does that increase the number of parents participating in meetings?
I believe it has. I think it makes parents feel that they can come out and they can get what's the information being shared. Mm-hmm. And since it's going on at the same time, it doesn't double the length of the meeting, where before we would have the person speaking and then the translation, right, and everybody's listening to what they can't understand. So now it goes on at the same time. Sure. So it helps everybody to be at the meeting together and getting all the information together, as opposed to having to wait.
What about school principal newsletters, school newsletters? Are we?
Some of those are translated. Lamita Park's translated for Spanish. The other schools, I don't believe, are translating those just yet, but they have a smaller proportion of Spanish-speaking students, so it's not required that those are translated at this time.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of our Asian community as well, in terms of reaching out.
We have done things in Chinese for our population in some of those schools. And if they're put onto a Google Doc, it has the ability of translating it. You hit the translation button, and then you can choose the language, right, and it will offer. I think there's like 20 or 25 different languages that you can get through the Google platform. And I know some of the principals use that, so that way parents can automatically translate it if they wish.
Thank you.
So, Claire, this is actually a question I probably should have posed to Principal Dora Reed. But, when we say getting the right resources to the right students at the right time, okay, so what does that look like in the real world? Give us maybe a quick example. To me, it sounds kind of elementary. Well, Johnny needs X. I happen to have X in the cupboard. I'm going to give him X. But obviously, there's more to it than that.
Well, I can answer that.
Yes, please.
If that's okay with you. Okay.
And Claire, I can also give a really great example, because I sat through two 8-hour trainings. And so, Claire, please take a shot at that. And I have one example that resonated with me, and hopefully Trustee Ravello will feel the same way.
Well, I'll defer to our wonderful superintendent.
All right.
You go for it.
Certainly, the definition of MTSS it's becoming clearer for all of us. And one of the items that I took away in terms of getting the right people, the students, the right resources, the right time, one of the items that we do is to take a needs assessment at the site level. Another item that I'm going to propose at the district level is to take an assessment at the district level. A component of taking a survey at the site level is to compile a resume of all of your entire staff, and that means your custodian, your secretary, your cafeteria staff, your bus drivers, everyone on campus, in terms of what their skill sets are, in terms of what their experiences are, and in terms of what they specialize in. And the example that was given to us was when there was an elementary school who did a needs assessment. They found out that this particular custodian knew karate. He had a black belt in either taekwondo or judo or whatever it was. And when they knew that, they took an inventory of this particular custodian who knew this skill. There was a student who had a behavior concern at the school site. He did not respond to the teacher. He did not respond to the principal. But when they found out that that little boy's favorite sporting activity was karate, guess who was able to comfort that little boy? The only person on campus that was able to take this little boy who was acting out was the school custodian. So that example resonated with me in regards to taking an inventory of who all of our staff members are and what they come with in terms of expertise. And different students have different needs, and we're able to align those resources. And that resonated with me, and that's a very small example. Claire, I don't know if you have other descriptors.
That's an excellent example. Thank you.
And so when we make that connection to the behavioral aspect of it, it did resonate with me.
I think that's a wonderful example of exactly getting the right resources to the right students at the right time. That's one of the things that were asked. It's called a FIA, and it's a school level look at what you have at your site in order to help all walks of students that are there.
Mm-hmm.
To see, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Claire.
Thank you.
Next, we have the Business Services Update. Mr. Champion, or CBO.
Yeah, that's the right one. Good evening, Trustee Fama and trustees. I'm going last, and it wasn't strategic, but my quick presentation is going to fit right into the MTSS and the LCAP goal number 3. So, Trustee Ravello, you said earlier that over the last 10 years, you've seen a number of new programs come into our district. Well, here's one more. This is brand new to our district, I hope, and I'm here tonight really just to do one thing, to promote us. Okay? This summer, we have our summer feeding at Lomita Park. And on slide 2 is the press release. And if I could read that real quick, it's part of our requirement for the program. With summer right around the corner, it's time to think about keeping children healthy while school is out. The Millbrae School District will be providing free meals to children during the summer. This summer, meals served at Lomita Park Elementary School will occur on each day starting June 18th, Monday, all the way through October 10th, minus the July 4th holiday. Did I say October? Well, I'm going to keep it going, okay. Through August 10th. Breakfast will be available for the public at 8:30 a.m. till 9, and lunch will start at 12:15 and end at 12:45. There is no income requirements or registration. Anyone 18 or younger may come and eat on us. Just simply show up. For more information, there's some contact information, and we're partnering with the Department of Agriculture to bring this program to our district. This is let me count my number of wins. Win, 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 win. Okay? Number 1, we get to feed the belly during the summer. Second win, it creates employment for some of our folks during the summer. Number 2, it's supporting our 2 programs this year at Lomita Park. The Mid-Peninsula Boys and Girls Club will be having their program starting on Monday for 5 weeks. And on the 6th week, they will do a PM program because we will be having our Jump Start program, which is our K through 5 summer school. All during this time, they get a breakfast and they get a lunch. And the last one, I guess there is 5 wins. We get to showcase our district. So anyone out there, you don't have to be a Millbrae student, Millbrae resident, San Bruno, Orange County, San Diego. If you're 18 and younger, you can come and eat on us. And that's my presentation.
All right, yeah.
So if you have any questions.
Questions?
Yes.
Who's cooking?
Who's cooking or what's cooking?
Who's cooking?
It's going to be done by it's done through our food services.
Okay.
Yes, our staff.
That's good then.
Yes.
And what are they
but
cooking?
remember, it's 18 and younger.
Oh,
But we do need lots of help with taking out the trash and such. So you're welcome to come by.
what are they serving?
Breakfast and lunch.
I mean, like scrambled eggs.
Okay.
In a school lunch.
Healthy items
Okay.
that are on the nutrition list, just like during the year.
Good. Great.
Will this be yearly, every summer, or just this summer?
No,
This is the beginning of.
I like programs that reoccur. So it's a federal grant, not a grant, federal program we applied because Lomita Park has the demographics that support it. So yes, this is a reoccurring thing. This has happened. This is not a new program. It's new to us. But a lot of districts, including our neighbors, have had this for a number of years. It's well overdue here in our community.
Yes, I agree. Another question: how do we reach families that probably don't?
This is great.
Yeah.
We have 2 huge banners. They look just like this.
Downtown Millbrae?
No, around our site. We've advertised Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn tonight. We have signs, not like the Measure N signs, but just as nice. I think better than our Measure N. And even though Monday, this a couple days ago, was not the start, we had 30 kids show up for breakfast. So maybe next year we'll start a week early.
Yeah, the key is free.
Yes, they just show up.
Free. Yeah.
Yeah. Show up. Yeah, I wrote the Spanish. I hope I translated it right. But yes. So yeah, feel free to come down and watch the action. We're real excited, from food services to custodial to the site to the cabinet to all of us.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Communications to the board. Speakers wishing to address the board on items on the agenda may complete speakers cards and submit them to the board secretary. Speakers addressing specific items on the agenda will have opportunity to address the board at the time of the agenda item in the meeting. If you are addressing the board on a non-agenda item, please be aware that the provisions of the Brown Act prohibit the board from acting or discussing such matters at this meeting. Public comments are limited to 3 minutes per person per topic. MEA, seeing no one. CSEA, seeing no one. MEF, seeing no one. Members of the community, seeing no one. Next, we will go to trustee communication, and I think we'll start with Trustee Barbaro tonight, if that's okay with you.
Sure. Well, I just have a little report to report out. The Taylor Barbecue, a little over a week ago, was funded by the PTA at Taylor, and they had a full group of parents come out on a Tuesday morning and just set up the whole campus of the city park. And so we had a nice barbecue there, and we cooked hamburgers, hot dogs. We served over 300 people. And so the fun part about it is the kids come, they rush down, they get their food really fast, and they eat like in 20 seconds, and then they're out in the grass because they want to play with the teachers. They want to run around and have fun with the teachers, and so that's very enjoyable to watch that. So that was my experience. That's all I have. Thank you.
Maggie.
Thank you. Well, I have a lot to say, but I'll start. First of all, it's been such a long time, but spring concerts, it was only a month ago, but it feels like it was a year ago. I have to say, I went to Spring Valley and I went to Lomita Park, and I really have to say that having music and having lessons every week instead of every other week, it really made a difference in the kids' performances. I really, really enjoyed it this time. So I'm glad that we made that change, and hopefully next year we'll have music every week, all year. So that would be great. Two, also the promotions. Congratulations to all the 8th graders and our 5th graders for getting promoted to 8th grade. I went to a couple of those promotions. It was a lot of fun. And another thing is I just want to say, Okay.
I think your time is expired.
I think my time is up.
That's your signal.
The fun, yeah, my signal to stop. Not okay. Anyway, I just want to say thank you for a great year. I think we had an amazing, busy year. It went by so fast, and a big shout out to our staff from custodians to kitchen to district office, our amazing volunteers, our board. And everybody in between. And I just want to say it's been a great year watching the MEF and the PTA and the district office and parents being so engaged. And actually, I think we made a huge, big turn, that people are finally understanding the needs of funds, needs of what the schools, what we're missing, and what kind of programs, and just. And a shout out to all of our parents that worked on Measure N and got it to pass, especially to Karen Chin-Zanitovich, our chair, and everybody else. I mean, we had the excitement and the amount of people that were so excited about helping the school district to become, we're great to become much better place to be, and we're just providing our kids the best that we can to be successful. So that's it. I hope you guys have a great summer, and take time and go away for a little bit. Enjoy. Take a vacation.
Thanks, Maggie. Lynn?
Well, my major shout out was to Measure N, and Karen Chin, you are totally a rock star. I hope you're watching from somewhere, because you are amazing, and all of our voters that came out and pushed this through. 75%, in addition to 75%, is pretty impressive. After working on, this is the fourth parcel tax effort, this was just an amazing effort. And I'm not going to say any more because I know our superintendent is probably going to have a little shout out there. Also, our 8th graders, our 5th graders, just echoing Maggie. And then also we have our community, our Chinese Business Association coming out tonight. They've just done so much for our schools. We also had the Rotary installation event last night, or the night before, and that was congratulations to outgoing President Deirdre Gladwin and incoming Janet McCauley. And again, Rotary does so much. The Interact programs are amazing. There were so many students at that event. We have our Lions tomorrow evening, and our Lions are just huge supporters of our schools, and so that's going to be an installation event as well. And so I'm happy that we're able to publicly thank all of our community supporters, our community clubs, and they do. Without them, we couldn't be doing, what we're doing. MEF, again, huge shout out. We know how much they brought into our schools for programs, and we're just really on a good track. And I concur with Trustee Musa that we are really turning the corner in our community, and I have high hopes for our schools. So happy summer, everybody.
Thank you, Lynn. Don?
Well, this really has been a singular school year. When you think back on some of the things that we've witnessed in this last year, any one of them would have been a triumph. But you look at the PCBA's fundraiser earlier this year, a huge success. Shout out to our superintendent for being a participant in the fashion show, and our trustee Ferrario. But that was about education, and it was a huge turnout. Shortly thereafter, you had the MEF's first ever gala. And it was a smash success, totally sold out. Nobody expected that kind of response from the community. Obviously, the MEF's contribution this year hit a new milestone. And it's not that they just beat last year by a little bit. They beat last year by a ton. And then, of course, this year, with the passing of Measure N, after all the frustration of the prior attempts to do it in such convincing fashion, And I think that's what ties all those events together. You know, they weren't just little victories. They were big, big victories, all happening in the same school year. So, you know, our thanks again to everybody in the community, all the organizations, all the individuals that stepped up to help out, you know. So as we enter into the summer, you know, a little word to the middle school parents. You know, as some of us that have seen our kids move on into high school, enjoy this time with them in middle school, because it's the last slow year you're going to have with them. When it gets to high school, the clock just really accelerates. So if you've got some time with them to spend this summer, I would ask that you do so, because you will look back on this time as a pretty fond period of time.
Thank you, Don. I won't repeat all the wonderful comments that have been made here tonight, but only say that there's a new spirit in our community. We've all been a part of some of the efforts in the past to convince our Millbrae residents and friends that we have a great need. And for the first time, I think, since I've been on the board, I got the sense of really wanting to cooperate and collaborate together for common good. And I saw so many egos go away. I saw so many walls come down. You know, we were all in our little silos. Everybody was doing, you know, we always thought, well, this is a school thing. This is just a school thing. And as we learned, it isn't just the school thing. It's about the community. And I'm in awe of Millbrae, and I think we can use the word love. There was a lot of love out there during this campaign. And talking to people and working with all the wonderful volunteers and the leadership. I'm not very often speechless, but I really am. Okay. Next, the superintendent.
All right, good evening, President Fema, trustees, and cabinet. I have a really quick update for tonight because we're ending the school year and we certainly are taking time to reflect. I remember my first journey with the Board of Trustees in regards to who we are as a school district and what we're about. And I do remember having conversations about us struggling in terms of local revenue. I shared with the board that the superintendent and the cabinet, we can't do much. We certainly can have a voice, but we don't control the formula at the state level. And we engaged in conversations. We engaged in conversations about what is it that we can do locally. Mr. Rick Champion, our chief business official, and we did that tour. We did the tour to all the PTAs and all of our community members to educate. And I think that the support of the board allowed us to talk about that, to educate our community, to have conversations as to what Trustee Musa alluded to earlier this evening. Everybody understood the common goal was about our kids. And where we are today, I just want to give a shout out and a thank you to our community. I don't think that we've celebrated as a board, as a trustee. Some of you were not able to make it to that opening, or you made it, but we were never in the same room for the very first time. So I want to hear some shout outs and some amazing stuff for the community tonight. So we did it. I think that we not only owe the Board of Trustees and our cabinet and our school district, but certainly when Mr. Austin Walsh called me from the Daily Journal, he said, "Vaughn, you have to tell me what was the secret. What was the extra touch? Because this is the fourth." I had to take a step back and to really think about it, because Karen Chin's I hope she's jumping out of her seat, but she doesn't credit herself. She says, "Vaughn, it wasn't just me, it was everybody." It was the board level to the community level. We had teams at every single school site. We had teams at the cabinet level. We had teams at the district and the administration level. We had teams from the city council folks to the community members to the senior center. That's what it was. That's what the secret was. There wasn't one cohort or there wasn't one group that was lacking in terms of information about how important this was to us. Certainly, our hands were tied in regards to the school district officials working on this particular measure during school times, and so we certainly were restricted during our work hours. But certainly after that 5 o'clock bell, we want to thank all of those folks who came out to the phone banks. We want to thank all of those folks who walked those precincts. We want to thank all of those folks who spent countless hours counting and scanning and working on this particular campaign. So thank you from all of us. One of the items that's going to be requested from us, we have some to-dos from both the elections office as well as the county. There are resolutions that we have to pass as a board to ensure that we're holding up our end of the bargain in regards to our responsibilities. In our next board meeting, more information to come, but for our community, as we've promised, and certainly to hold us accountable, please look forward to an announcement for committee members to serve on the Parcel Tax Oversight Committee. Certainly, if trustees are interested, it could be an adjunct committee work, no more than 2 trustees, so that we keep our Brown Act certainly not in violation of the Brown Act. And so please, to our community, that is our commitment. We are going to take a look at the particular funding source and strategically when those dollars will come to us to begin planning so that we are responding to our community in regards to line iteming every item that the parcel tax dollars will go to. So please look out for that announcement. Just as we reflect on 2017, 2018, I want to send a shout out and a thank you to the school board. Trustees, we can't do our work without your support. Certainly, you've given us a vision, you've given us a mission and guiding principles. However, sometimes Claire or Anita or Rick will come to you with crazy ideas, but certainly we thank you for supporting it. We will test it out, we will try it. If it's effective, we will keep on going. But if it's not effective, we certainly will dial back and ensure that we take a different path. So thank you to the school board. Thank you to our district office staff, the folks who are behind the scenes. For some of you that are on summer break, congratulations, because we are still here. Our district office is still here, and this is where the work begins. I don't know if I said this to one of our cabinet members, but this week has been more exhausting than any week during the school year for us. It's been exhausting because not only are we closing out, but we are prepping and opening up for 18-19. There's a lot of HR items that are on the burner. There are a lot of conversations about closing contracts and opening contracts. There are conversations about negotiating with items for next year. So a shout out and a thank you to our district office staff. Certainly, without reservations, a shout out to our administration and staff. They did an amazing job this year. In addition to their work in running a school as well as organizing their personnel, we asked of them to do more beyond, above and beyond their job description to support some of the work that they had to do outside of their work time. This has been stated earlier tonight, but I want to echo thank you to our service organizations, to our Rotary and Lion and Chinese Business Association, to all the other partners that I have forgotten about, and certainly thank you and a shout out to our city who have continually been community partners with us, and certainly you'll see that work as we continue in the next school year. And we would be remiss as we reflect on 2017, 2018 if we don't give a shout out and a thank you to these folks. A shout out to Miss Maura LeBaron-Shea. She texted me this week to say that it was one of the most amazing experiences for her this year. And so I was happy to hear that because I just wanted to check in on her in regards to, hey, Maura, how was your year in terms of being the president? And her text back to me was that she had one amazing amazing year serving as the MEF president. We want to thank Ms. Maura LeBaron-Shea and her board of directors, so many folks on that board. The check that the MEF will be writing to the school district in August is for $515,000. A little bit more than $500,000. And so we are honored, we are overjoyed, and we are certainly humbled by all of this. This isn't one person Maura wanted me to state. This is our community, the Millbrae School District. And so we thank our community, we thank our families, and certainly we thank our kiddos who certainly are part of our bigger community. We want to give a shout out and a thank you to our PTA and PTO presidents. They are serving their last terms. Ms. Leslie Tae Chung from Green Hills, Ms. Sohaili Hernandez from Lamita Park, Ms. Jane Kim from Meadows, Ms. Christina Decote from Spring Valley, and Mr. Antonio Capto from Taylor Middle School, and certainly to their executive boards. We do have new presidents that are sitting in the chair. We're looking for one more president. I'm going to put a plug in for Lamita. Miss Christina Spicker wanted me to say that she's working. She may have somebody for June 27th for our next orientation. We did have somebody, and one of the some employee changes or personnel changes took precedence over the commitments. But we want to thank those folks. We sent them off, and we thank you for their service. We also want to give a shout out. We've heard this name before, Ms. Karen Chen. Not only did she serve as our campaign chair, but she was also the PTA council president for the last 2 years. And she certainly was instrumental in bringing all of the PTA and PTO leads together in the efforts of what we need to do as a school district. So shout out. We can't say goodbye to Ms. Leslie Tae Chung because she has accepted the new position as PTA council president. And so she is no stranger. She already has some goals that are laid out, and we're looking forward to what those goals are. So congratulations and thank you to those awesome folks. I don't take an opportunity to thank our cabinet too often, so tonight I'm going to take that opportunity. As we reflect on 2017, 2018, we celebrate our successes. I'm not going to give a shout out to my soup's office, but certainly we do have some celebrations. Certainly the person sitting right behind me, Miss Claudia Buttigieg, who really can not only finish my sentences, but certainly knows what I'm thinking when I don't. There have been some times where I'm babbling during HR meetings and she's able to complete the sentences for me. And so I congratulate her. I thank her. We are very lucky to have Claudia with us. I don't have to go into each and every single department, but trustees, you've seen the accomplishments from each department, from our business services, our educational services, and our student services. I want to give a shout out because it's not me at the district office, it's our team. And certainly, we know that we're bare bones at the district office, and these folks don't just do what their titles slate them to do, but they go above and beyond. We have our CBO who's running the cafeteria counter at some time or another throughout the school year. We have our assistant superintendent that's doing recess and lunch duty. We have our director of special education who is not only helping us to refill our spa waters, but making sure that every single person is taken care of in terms of our wonderful Wednesdays. And so these folks are behind the scenes. I'm going to give a shout out to them. And I would be remiss if I didn't do that. Lastly, as was stated tonight, to our school sites and to our 8th grade promoting class. So congratulations as we send them off. My last slide is just a quick looking forward to. Trustees, we briefly mentioned this for our next board meeting, which is June 26th. We want to hold a mini study session on development of our and strengthening and development of our vision, mission, and guiding principles for the 18-19 school year. We had a very powerful study session with our principals to set the vision. And once again, it's the why and the what. And we want to ensure that not only the trustees and the cabinet and our school administrators are on board with the same message and the common message, but we want to ensure our community is aware of that as well. In regards to this particular slide, if I had collaborated under the MTSS model, the title to this slide would have been Getting the Right Resources to the Right Student at the Right Time. And so I apologize for that, Cabinet. Certainly, part of our work for the continuing years is that the trustees and our community understands that you trust us in terms of the how in the categories of the academics, the how in terms of the categories of the behavioral science, and the category of social-emotional learning. To look forward to, the superintendent's initiative for next year will be forming an advisory group to address the social-emotional learning in our school district. We already have one service organization, the Rotary, the Millbrae Rotary, who has joined efforts with us to say that this is important to them too. We'll be reaching out to the Lions under the direction of the junior lead. We certainly will be reaching out to other organizations and other stakeholders because that will be our initiative for the 2018-2019 school year. In hopes of implementing a pilot program for January of 2019. And our last slide, upcoming dates. Thank you so much, everybody, for a great year. We have a regular board meeting wrong slide. June 26th is our regular board meeting. The next board meeting is July 24th. I apologize. That was a mistake. And then I know, boys and girls, you just got out last Friday, but the first day of school for the 2018-2019 school year is Monday, August 27th, 2018. And trustees, please log in your save the date. The 2019 MEF Gala is slated for March 2nd. So please put that in your calendar. That's my superintendent update for tonight.
Thank you, Vaughn. Okay. Next, we move on to the consent agenda. Can I have a motion for approval? So moved. Trustee Ferrario, Trustee Musa, all those in favor? Aye. Consent agenda is approved by a vote of 4-0. Okay. District business. 12.1, the LCAP public hearing. Vaughn?
Trustees, tonight the LCAP 2018-2019 has been presented for a public hearing, and we did do our required 10-day notice posting, and so tonight we will follow your guidance, President Fema, to open and close the public hearing and open for public comment as well.
Okay, so the public hearing is officially opened. Any comments from the public? If not, we are closing the public hearing. 12.2, public disclosure of collective bargaining agreement of unrepresented units. Vaughn, once again.
Trustees, in your packet is a public disclosure of the collective bargaining agreements. This is a collective bargaining agreement for our unrepresented units. This is not our Millbrae Education Association, and it's not our CSEA. It's the unrepresented units. It is brought to the board for approval tonight as presented.
Okay. So may I have a motion on accepting the disclosure?
So moved.
Trustee Ravello? Trustee Musa? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Next is 12.3, 2018-19 budget public hearing. And once again, we will open the public hearing.
Good evening, trustees. Tonight, I would like to present, both for the public hearing and for our information, the budget for the upcoming 18-19 school year. Remember, this is based upon the May revise, and I want to emphasize that because the governor and the legislature does approve the budget tomorrow. And there was about 20 competing bills going after some of the dollars, the excess dollars. And of course, the state is on an upswing for additional revenues. Just real quick, tonight satisfies Ed Code 4203, which requires that the board of each school district shall hold a public hearing on the proposed budget in a district facility or some other place conventionally accessible to the residents of the district. This is for information only and will be brought forth for formal action at our next board meeting for adoption on June 26. And again, this is based upon, I have to keep emphasizing that because it will change, on the governor's May revise, third-party consultants, the San Mateo County Office of Education, and best practices. Real quick, just to show you on the next slide how this budget is put together, and it's a component of a lot of inputs. A lot of inputs. And it doesn't just start a couple weeks ago, a couple months ago. It really started a year ago. But just to give you kind of an idea of all the, where all the information comes from. So real quickly, on the next slide, just kind of show you some of the impacts of the proposed budgets from the governor who's in his last and final year. From January, the LCFF funding model is projected to be 100% closed 2 years ahead of schedule, or about $2.9 billion from the state. The next box in January shows you the increase of the Prop 98, which is the education funding side of the budget. I know it's gone up over the years. There was talk about a 2.5% COLA adjustment in January, and a $1.8 billion, or about $295 per ADA, of one-time discretionary funding. Shows you how good the state was doing. In May revise, again, the LCFF was still proposed to be fully funded, but more additional dollars, about 3.2, was to be earmarked for the funding. The Prop 98 side, again, did not change too much. It's a complicated formula for another long 8-hour board meeting, so we won't talk about the weeds into that tonight. But they did adjust up the COLA and a little bit on the base grant, which is wonderful news because that means it's ongoing money. But again, they increased the one-time funding up to $2.02 billion, so about $344 per student one time. Okay? Between May and today, there's a committee. There's two budget sides. There's the committee of the Assembly and the committee on the Senate, and this is where they compete for those dollars. Okay. So there's been proposals to increase the gap funding, the LCFF base grant, which is really what we want because that's ongoing dollars for years and years ago, from $3.5 to almost $4 billion. And as of yesterday, I think they came to a compromise of $3.7 billion. Wonderful news because it does add some more dollars to the base grant for all school districts. Still don't know where the Prop 98 is going to come in. And plus or minus again on the COLA, and I heard the COLA is going up too yesterday too, and we'll talk about it in a couple more slides. But they're paying that with the one-time dollars. So the Assembly said, well, let's pay for it and move those one-time dollars to the ongoing of $500 million or $486 million. And the Senate side said, well, I think we could still throw $1 billion. But now there's a lot of more, as you can imagine, since money is flowing in Sacramento, there's a lot more initiatives, both one-time and ongoing, both on the Prop 98, the school side, and on the non-Prop 98, the state side. If you kind of look at the bullet as we go through, so how are we getting this in dollars? Well, the increase in state revenues. But the governor continues to his current theme is to prepare for the downside of a robust economy. We're in the second largest recovery in California history, and soon we'll be at the longest recovery. We still don't know the impacts from the federal tax plan. But the California Big Three revenue sources, which is personal income tax, sales tax revenue, and corporate tax, continue to be robust. A lot of it on the personal income side is people prepaying and taking advantage of the new tax code. So there are a lot of dollars coming through, which of course also too is your capital gains tax side. And both the economy for the U.S. and California is growing, but projected to go slightly down in the out years. Again, the COLA for the LCFF side was adjusted up in May to 3%. All the programs outside of the LCFF, which is your special ed and other items that are not applicable sometimes to the Millbrae, is still going to have a 2.71 COLA, full funding, and of course the one-time funds are still with the same theme, intended to be used one time. But with full funding comes a whole new ramp up of disclosure. Okay? Basically, we need to demonstrate where those dollars flow, and we've heard Ms. Claire bring those up earlier about the LCAP and the supplemental funds. But before we go on, I want to kind of talk about us and some of our fiscal highlights for 17-18. As you know, we like to hit a lot of singles and a lot of doubles. They add up. But this is a grand slam. Earlier this year, we refinanced our 2008 Series B2 bonds, if you recall. We brought that forward to the board. We had K&N come in and made the proposal. This was a grand slam for the taxpayers of Millbrae. With this refi and the one done back in 2016, the projected savings is over $3 million for the taxpayers of Millbrae. Huge. And it's actually, if you really look at the percentage, 14 and 17% savings. I mean, I wish our 401ks were that healthy. This is a great, this was a grand slam. Okay? But here's the singles and the doubles. We closed negotiations for our staff, both our CCA and MEA, which included adjustments to income on the upside. Okay? We renewed some of our district copier leases and operational management agreements really to match our usage, and was able to negotiate now a better cost and a lower lease rate. Okay? Our food services, our wonderful, what we call Fund 13, we're on track soon to eliminate an 8% deficit in that fund in 2 years. Now, when I say deficit, bills still got to get paid, payroll still got to get paid through that fund. Money was coming from the general fund every year to support this program. We will be cash positive through a little adjustments on both sides of the ledger and the awesome work of our food service director, Lisa Corner. And of course, the many new programs as we're bringing on board, not only the summer feeding, which I talked earlier about, but also the after-school dinner program that we have at Lomita Park that serves our kids free of charge, no income, no registration. Our district tenants, thank you, the ones that continue to pay us rent for using our facilities. We have to thank them. We have probably one of the best track records. There's no turnover in years and years and years, which is good to us. And now also to our new summer tenants. We're in our year 2 of having our summer tenants and our after-school programs through the city. They now encompass almost 20% of our revenue, just that side of the total revenue from our facility rentals. And the goal to keep going higher. And of course, as the superintendent alluded earlier, a volunteer work network, our MEF, PTA, and PTOs. Just to give you a highlight, he told you the dollars, but I like percentages. It's 34% increase on the MEF side when you compare the year to year. And of course, Measure In. That's going to add dollars to our revenues as we go forward. None of the revenue expectations for Measure In are in this budget, because at the time this budget was prepared, we did not know the outcome, even though we were 100% sure what was going to happen. They are not in this budget. and they probably won't be until the interim reports going forward to next year. These highlights didn't come easy. They did not come easy. I just want to it took a lot of hard work from staff, everyone here, and everyone at the district to get to these highlights. Just want to make a point on that. Just to give you an idea where the LCFF implementation is, kind of look at where we are here today. It shows you the trajectory of how far the state has come to fulfill its obligation under this program, implemented back in 13-14 under Governor Brown. The main years from 15-16 to today was a combination of luck in the economy and the two propositions that Governor Brown was able to put forward, Proposition 30 and then Proposition 5, that added a lot of revenue to the Prop 98 side. But just to give you an idea, the half glass empty look at this is now, see where we are here? We're at 100%. There's no new projections for what the out years show. That's the takeaway, Ms. Ferrario, of this slide is the out years is flat funding as of today. So what's ahead under the LCFF? The base grants, as we've always said, every school district, tip to toe, side to side of California are the same. It's the supplemental and concentration grants, which are determined by the demographics of the district that actually throw more dollars into their funding. The annual growth of the LCFF funding will be determined by two things: change in your district's ADA and the COLA. Shows you how limited those are. And our TK class size, though we have an alternative language in our collective bargaining agreement, must be 24 or less. The requirements to show that the dollars flow to the students that generate it are becoming more stringent now. And as we know, Prop 98 funding in excess of the requirements for growth in COLA can only be used for expanding new programs going forward. This is how the flow of our district for the unrestricted revenues kind of show. Just kind of basic, show you what we get per pupil in the K through 3, 4 through 6, and 7, 8th grades, in case anyone asks. We don't get a concentration supplemental grant, but we do get the supplemental. Okay. And that's actually as of today. I have to keep saying this is as of the May revise. Real quickly, as the May revise, these are the breakdowns. In case anyone asks you at the supermarket, these are the dollars that are generated by the supplemental grant for our district on the unrestricted side and some of the base grants, and based upon our ADA projection of 2,363 students. And our unduplicated count, I hate to use that word because it sounds like we're counting them. We're not counting them, we're counting them twice. But our students that generate the additional dollars is at 30% district-wide. Okay. Again, we have a slight decrease in enrollment as of today. Best practices to be conservative, we take the numbers and we just move them forward based on the information. Though estimates for enrollment for next year sometimes greatly go up or down, but until the school starts, and as the superintendent always says, cheeks into seats, and then that's when we are able to count them and adjust our ADA. But we do have a declining enrollment projection. We know that there's been talk from our facilities committee and from facilities presenters about possible increases in impacts of construction from the TOD1 and TOD2 at the BART station. That's out in the outer years. It's not part of this projection or our multi-year projections going forward tonight. Our staffing projection, as you can tell in this slide, remains relatively intact. Especially if you want to look at the very bottom, our admin and confidential has not changed over the years, so we are still doing more and more with the same amount of people. And as of today in this budget, our expectation for FTE count is 204.975. I have to count it, go out to 975 for our supervisor of business services because she carries it out to the hundreds. Real quick, some of the highlights of our assumptions. They're here for your review. The main thing I want to draw your eyes to is the last is the box on the right at the very bottom is STIRS and PERS contribution. For this year, it has gone up. It's a 13% increase on the STIRS side and a 16.5% increase, again, on the PERS side. It's at 16.28 and 18.10 respectively for the employer's contribution side. Okay, what does that mean for us here in Millbrae? The next slide, this is the projected pension rates as of today in percentages in a graph form. Look where it says we are here, where we are here today. It's just at the beginning of this curve. This is going to be the challenge for not only Millbrae, but all school districts and public agencies within the state. The projected impact to our district from last year to 2020, which this multi-year projection covers, is about $919,000 in additional costs. It's important to note, as you'll see there underlined in bold and blue, that these costs are going to happen regardless of what increases on the Prop 98 funding for schools going forward. Next slide is our budget revenue assumptions for the general fund, both the restricted and the unrestricted side. With the one-time dollars in here, it's at $25 million too, with the majority of coming from the state aid side. And property taxes represent about, I left my glasses, 41% of that source. So we're still highly dependent on the state of California for funding. Our local revenue projected right now and budgeted is at $1,058,000. It's well, you see, why is that so low? Why does it seem low? Because we, on the local revenue side, on the lease side, we don't book revenues until we actually receive them unless we have multi-year contracts. Like for our summer tenants, those are not in here. Those are year to year, unless we had contracts going forward. And of course, our donations from MEF, though we would like to always assume we're going to do $515,000, except I think our target is $750,000 next year. So, but we have to stay conservative of what we know. Expectations on expenditures on the following slide of $25.3 million, both total, restricted and unrestricted. With staff encompassing about 85.6% of our budget. We're a people business, and that's it's the biggest percentage of our dollars out. Okay. Special education and the required services that are so needed continue to present challenges to all school districts in the state. Because the federal government and the state have not lived up to their, as I quote Anita, unquote, their obligations to fund what they promised. So our contribution to both the LCFF side and the federal side is about $2.9 million that come from the general fund over to the restricted or the special education side. Just to give you, and there's a snapshot of where the dollars flow. Our multi-year projections on the following slide is basically what I always say, though it's looks like a checkbook, it's not a checkbook. It's not cash on hand. The ending fund balance for the years going across 1819, 1920, and 2021, though it seems like we have millions of dollars, in essence, we really don't. As you can see, we broke those out for you. And what we're doing, what we propose in our budget is to take those one-time dollars, which was $344 per student, which would generate about $800,000, and set those aside in our ending fund balance for PERS and STIRS over this 3-year period. This is not an answer to our problem, but we need to account for those expenditures because I told you in previous slides, these expenditures are going to come, regardless of the funding. And then a couple other things too, but the main thing we're setting aside also, of course, is our deficit spending. And we have to account for that. So this year we will report in a positive certification as we go forward for this 3-year period. I like to throw this slide in is because why do we need reserves? We need reserves because the state, our forecasts, and they're very volatile. We still don't know the impacts of the federal tax reform and how it's going to affect the state side. Our projected and expenditure variances in the budget year as well as the multi-years, remember, these are projections. We're not forecasting where we're going to be. We're only projecting based upon the information we have today. Why reserves you need for declining enrollment? Why do we need reserves for our increasing STRS and PERS obligations? We need to save for future one-time for instructional curriculum and deferred maintenance needs in our district. And also as a hedge, really, is against unanticipated or unbudgeted expenditures. Credit ratings for our district, which have been maintained at a AA1, are affected when you deficit spend. So the reserves are there to protect those, which if our credit ratings went down, our borrowing costs go up. Okay? And you say, well, we don't really borrow money. In essence, we do because our bonds are rated on this. And if we were to go to refi, or actually if we went out to the market to obtain money for facilities growth, the credit rating has a direct effect on our costs. Most importantly, reserves afford the district time to thoughtfully and identify and implement budget adjustments over time. Inadequate reserves force us to make decisions quickly, which can cause disruption to staff and programs. I love that last bullet. I wish it was mine, but I did borrow that from another district, but I thought it was well worth saying word for word tonight. Some of the risk to our multi-year projection, the May revised versus tomorrow's signed budget. Everyone in the education planning world, we're getting ready for a positive June budget tomorrow. Contributions, of course, increasing to our underfunded programs, our special ed, our insurance, which we try to control on the local level with our safety programs and our wonderful maintenance and operation. We've seen those markets increase due to market conditions. Also, though, we've seen a modification adjustment in our own district of a $102,000 surcharge in this year related to some costs back in primarily to the 15-16 year. But we have to account for those in the future years also. Economic risks that can happen that are beyond our control if our demographics change, that can cause our unduplicated count can go in and out. Increase in PERS and STRS, it just seems like they keep decreasing their expectation, which creates more costs on districts. And of course, there's a new governor that's coming around. New initiatives, new programs. Okay. Bear with me. So behind the scenes, like to say, we got to say thanks. First of all, in your board packet is an executive summary, and as you know, I like to include drawings, and on the cover, I'd like to thank Miss Hurley over at Taylor and the MEF for contributing this year's inserts throughout the executive summary. All 5 schools in the summary are represented in various forms with their kids' drawings. Again, high fives to all the direct and indirect people throughout our whole district. And of course, Mr. Denise, our business services manager, she spends countless hours, sometimes on the weekends, and sometimes we know she's there on the weekends, so we turn the internet off, don't tell her, so she would go home. And she gets so mad that this happens, but she's got to stay home. So thank you. I stand ready for your questions.
Comments, questions?
I have one. So, thank you very much for the very comprehensive presentation, Mr. Champion. So I just wanted to go back to a couple of the comments that you made, and particularly the need for reserves. I think, Governor Brown's basic comment, now is the time to save, not the time to make new promises that can't be kept. As you say, the federal and the state governments have a very poor legacy in terms of funding schools. The last 20 years, the state of California has only funded schools to the tune of a little over 80% of what the schools are supposed to get. People sometimes get confused by the catch-up, over the last 2-3 years, which now, quote-unquote, has us at 100%, but it's got us at 100% of what funding was back in 2011. So that's not 100% funding, folks. That's playing with numbers. That's, quote-unquote, satisfying the public. And it ties in very well with, the next item on the agenda, the statement of reasons for balances in excess of minimum reserves. Okay, the state wants us to explain why, we are not spending down to the minimum, which is ridiculous when school districts cannot afford to pay, what their budgets are. We're scrambling, to try to find a dollar here, a dollar there. And it's not just us, although we have perhaps a more extreme case than a lot of other school districts. But the point is, they should be encouraging districts to save. They should be providing the structure so that school districts can save. Don't pass the buck to the people that are least in the ability to provide the structure. That's supposed to be our government providing the structure. So I thank you for, the presentation, and I hope people, listen to the points that, that show the difficulty that not just this school district faces, but all school districts throughout this state. Until, we as a general population wake up to the fact that schools cannot function correctly if every year you have to worry about where's the dollar going to come from to teach our kids. That is no way to run an educational process. You wouldn't run a business that way. You wouldn't criticize people for trying to save money for expenses that they know are coming. So until that climate changes, and until the general public understands, what our school funding is about, we're going to continue to go through this cycle every year of chasing our tails. So, that's it. I want to thank you in particular in our cabinet for the work you've done to really help our district financially. I know our superintendent has really come to, value the work that you do, and I certainly know as a trustee and as a citizen, how important having a good CBO is to our district. So I want to thank you, Rick.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes. I think we all agree. Thank you, Rick.
I'll pass the applause to, it's a team effort. It's not me. It's a team. We run farther as a team than as an individual. So.
Quick question. Will we be doing any summer renovations or any repairs or anything?
This is a very busy summer. Yes. One of goals is to really establish a deferred maintenance plan in addition to a facilities plan. And one of our sites in particular, Spring Valley, though it's a difficult environment, as Trustee Ravello knows, in getting contractors to return phone calls because of the climate out there and the construction activity. That site is earmarked for some renovations. I always say that our sites look great at 40 miles an hour anyways, but it's when you really stop. This is more of the cosmetic side that we're looking at. It's still tough, and it's going to be a long process to fix some of the underground utilities at Spring Valley. That'll be earmarked for next summer. But at other sites, yes, they're getting the maintenance and some deferred maintenance all along serving tenants. And a lot of activity this summer, and really like Lamita Park. The last couple of years, they've really not had anything. This year, that's going to be jam-packed kids there with our summer feeding program and our tenants in our Jump Start program.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
There's no further public comment. I will close the session. 12.4, statement of reasons for balances that we just referred to.
Maybe I should just say it up there. Trustee, this is a recommended action, as Trustee Ravel was so adamant about. This is our requirement under Ed Code 42-127 to disclose excess, I'm pausing there, excess funds above the minimum required reserve of 3%. This is a recommended board action for approval.
Okay. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion, Barbara. Second, Ravello. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 12.5, English Language Arts, English Language Development, the Amplify adoption. Claire?
Got it? Okay. So this resolution is before you tonight for your approval. It's recommended that the Board of Trustee to adopt the English Language Arts, English Language Development State Standard Aligned Program, Amplify English Language Arts, for grades 6th through 8th at Taylor Middle School. This program was piloted by all of the English teachers at Taylor Middle School this past school year. We have held committee meetings by every other month, and it was unanimously decided by the teachers to move forward with this curriculum. So this is an action for you tonight.
You have a motion?
Move to approve.
Second? So motion for Ario, and second Musa. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Resolution 1817, which is item 12.6, resolution to approve food donations of excess food.
Trustees, I bring this resolution forward, 1718-17, in coordination with the County of San Mateo Environmental Health and Services Safe Surplus Food Donation Program. Real quick, this resolution is in support of the quote-unquote food donation bill signed by the governor back in September of 2017, which allows us districts to donate any leftover food that is not used by the district, within the district in its normal operations, as long as the food is not potentially hazardous and distributed in a safe manner consistent with the Health and Safety Code. And it's donated in good faith to local food banks and any nonprofit charitable organization that might be in need. I bring this forward for approval.
Okay, resolution 171817. Can I have a motion?
Second.
Motion Musa, second Barbaro. All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries. 13, board governance and policy. Approval of update to board policy regulation 3320. Vaughn?
Trustees, we recently updated our entire board policy as of June 2017. Tonight, I bring a revision as provided by County Council to Board Policy and Administrative Regulations 3320, Claims and Actions Against the District. This update includes language that the court in Big Oak Flat Groveland Unified School District versus the Superior Court relied upon in determining that the plaintiff in a lawsuit case was required to file a government claim with the district not later than 6 months after the accrual of the cause of action. So tonight we bring this to the board as a first read. Certainly, please take this home and as a first read. Typically, the district asks that the board waives the second read. However, I do believe that this is a very important document. The recommendation tonight is presented to the board as a first read, and the second read will be brought back and recommended for approval at our June 26th board meeting.
Okay, given your advice, are we all in agreement to have a second reading?
Agreed. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Possible future agenda items. CPR Saturday, 2018-19 Board Vision, Mission, and Goals. Anything else? Then we will adjourn this meeting and convene another meeting. So This meeting of the school board is concluded for now, and we will now move on to the Millbrae Finance Corporation meeting. Rick? Vaughn?
Trustees, this is an annual Millbrae Finance Corporation meeting to elect its officers. And tonight, we just moved down the agenda. So tonight, we are reopening an annual Millbrae Finance Corporation meeting.
Okay. I see some names are submitted for officers, and I will entertain a motion to approve that roster.
So moved.
Ravello, yes. And second? Maggie Musa. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Any public comment? Other business? There is a consent agenda. Vaughn?
Correct. Within your packets, trustees, there are minutes from our June 15, 2017. It's recommended for the board to review and approve those minutes as presented.
Okay, motion?
So moved.
Ravello?
Second.
Second, Barbara. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. And with that, we will have an adjournment. Thank you all very much for a great meeting.